All right, welcome to another episode of Piecing It Together, the podcast where we take a look at a new movie and try to figure out what movies inspired it. And today on the show, we are talking about the return of sexy thriller director Adrian Lyne. We are talking Deep Water, starring Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas, a absolutely ridiculous movie. And to talk about this movie, I've got Shannon McGrew from Nightmarish Conjurings, and we have got an absolutely ridiculous conversation to match an absolutely ridiculous movie. I knew going into this one that this was going to be all over the place because I spent the whole movie laughing, and I think I might have written down the most notes I've ever written down for an episode of this podcast. I always have a puzzle pieces list and a notes list, and my notes list is just line after line of the ridiculous things that happen in this movie. If you haven't seen it yet, it's on Hulu. Watch it first before you listen to this, and then let's get into the conversation. Before we do, though, I do want to remind you, as always, please make sure to subscribe to Piecing It Together wherever you listen to podcasts. You can, of course, do that on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, Good Pods, Pocket Casts, Podchaser, all the major podcast apps. And if the one you listen to podcasts on has a 5-star button, we'd appreciate it if you would click that 5-star button and then maybe type a couple sentences about what you like about the show. That would be awesome if you did that. You can also follow us on social media at Piecing Pod and join our Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces, where we continue the conversation about all the movies we talk about here on the show. Last but not least, don't forget we do have a Patreon, the Produced by David Rosen Patreon, where I post bonus and advanced content from this podcast, as well as from Awesome Movie Year, which is another movie podcast I produce, and from my music career, where I post all kinds of music stuff. I'm currently working on a couple of new albums, so I've been posting previews, and I got a new commentary track going up there soon for one of my previous albums. Lots of cool stuff. So again, it's patreon.com/bydavidrosen. Check it out. So let's talk about Deep Water. All right, Shannon McGrew's back with us. We're going to talk about Deep Water.
Woo.
Shannon, how's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
I'm great. I'm excited to talk about this one.
I've
been doing all these episodes. I'm just swamped in podcast right now. I'm recording on. I just did X. I'm doing Windfall in a couple of days. Like so many movies, but this one I'm especially excited about because it's just so insane. And I don't even know where we're going to end up by the end of this conversation.
No.
But it'll be fun.
There'll be snails.
There will be snails. There should be snails, that's for sure. Let's start off. Are you an Adrian Lyne fan? Do you like these kinds of movies?
I mean, I think that they're classics. Is like, I love Jacob's Ladder.
Okay.
You know, I think that is an incredible horror film. You know, and then you have Fatal Attraction and films like that. And I mean. Mm-hmm. You know, they're an adventure. So I wouldn't say I don't like his films. I do think Jacob's Ladder is incredible. You know, but like Unfaithful and, you know, Fatal Attraction, they're just silly.
they are. And you know what? That's actually a good thing. Some sexy thrillers are going to come up later in the conversation for sure. But I haven't seen any of these movies since back in the day. Like it's been forever since I've seen Unfaithful or any of those. And I'm wondering if they're really silly now in like the current moment. Like at the time they were actually sexy thrillers, I think, you know, like we were younger, you know, I don't know if we really necessarily saw them for what they were at the moment, but they were taken seriously. And now it's hard to imagine not laughing at a movie like this.
Yeah, it would be interesting to go back and watch those. I did just recently rewatch some of Jacob's Ladder, but that's a completely different tone. Yeah. And
totally different.
It's still terrifying. So I think it would be interesting to go back. I think it'd be really interesting to go back and watch Fatal Attraction again.
Yeah, that would probably be the best of the bunch, I would think. Maybe hold up the most, or if not exactly in the same way, maybe it would at least hold up as a fun watch. But
Yes.
let's get into puzzle pieces here. We'll get into all the things that this movie is and isn't, and what it tries to be, and all of that along the way. I'll just say at the top, my puzzle pieces list is kind of a mess. There's some obvious ones, but there's some weird ones, and I don't know. But what do you got for your first puzzle piece here?
Well, it's interesting because I was thinking about it, and when I watch it, it doesn't necessarily bring to mind, like, I don't think of like, oh, these films outside of the ones we just, talked about.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the only one that really comes to mind is more of like Trisha Highsmith. Is that the author?
Yeah.
Learning more about her, but I don't know. I can't think of any that it reminds me of, though I did do a double feature of Deep Water and Knock Knock.
Okay.
And besides the fact that that was wild, I could definitely, they're all the same. They're all the same.
That's what makes it so hard. Yeah, because you're like, I could just sit here and just list like all of the non-Jacob's Ladder Adrian Lyne movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Knock Knock is a good one though. Like definitely I think include Knock Knock. Like go for it.
Absolutely.
Use Knock Knock as the first piece because why not? That works.
I mean, Knock Knock is essentially, when I watched Deep Water, I wasn't convinced that this was a real movie. Like it just like blew my mind that like I could not believe that this was supposed to be like a serious drama / thriller. And I had a friend watch it with me, and then I was like, let me go revisit Knock Knock because that movie's ridiculous. And that movie is still ridiculous. And they kind of just really work in tandem with an older male figure and a younger woman.
Sure.
And the younger woman is quote unquote like unhinged, which would go back to like Fatal Attraction.
Aren't they all?
Aren't they? We all are unhinged. So yeah, there's definitely similarities between the two, especially in terms of, and Anna is in both movies.
Sure.
Very different performances, though similar.
Yeah.
How about you?
So my first piece isn't a movie. Yeah, I wanted to mix it up a little bit because it was the first thing that I thought of. And it's actually a meme. It's the meme of Ben Affleck standing outside smoking a cigarette because he's so he's had it. He's stressed out. It's the perfect representation of like when you just can't take anymore. You've had the worst couple of days, maybe even a full week, and you're just like at wit's end. You could also use the Justice League interview one where it looks like he's getting ready to cry.
Oh my God. That one's the best.
Oh, it's so good. And yeah, just seeing Ben Affleck defeated and exasperated and exhausted, like that feels like the impetus of this movie. It feels like, what if we took Ben Affleck, put him in this like cuckold situation with a wife, having to go to like 4 parties a week apparently, and keep up all these friendships, these weird adult friendships. It's like, it just looks so exhausting. It looks incredibly just nonstop exhausting. And that was the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah, I think that's a great, I'm never not going to see that now. Like anytime somebody brings that up, I'm immediately going to go to that meme. But knowing that it's written by the same author as The Talented Mr. Ripley, it's interesting because I love The Talented Mr. Ripley. Like when it first came out, I thought it was great.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, I have to revisit it, but that's a sexy thriller. They're young. It's men, it's all ambiguous. But when you think of this one, to your point, he's just exhausted. Like he doesn't care. And he's just way more concerned about the snails.
Yeah. Yeah. He loves the snails. I mean, I
guess the author has a fascination with snails.
Yeah, that's the only way to explain it, because otherwise there's so many other ways that they could have, I don't know, like built up that character and built out what his interests are.
Yeah. And it's like, it's crazy to me because the first thing I thought of when outside of like utter shock was, why are there snails?
Mm-hmm.
Because it was so like, it just made no sense. And then why do these two people who dated have zero chemistry?
Right. Why do
in
they
this
hate
film.
each other? Like,
Like, and it's not even like passionate hate. Like, it's just there's nothing.
right.
God, I hated this movie so much. But I
I
loved
know.
it.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. But what do you have next? What's another puzzle piece you think you could bring to this one?
I mean, my whole thing with this was I felt like I was watching like 3 movies. So like I'm a big fan of Little Rel Howery.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like they were bringing in one of his comedies,
Mm-hmm.
to your point of like this weird, odd friend
Yeah.
situation. And that was like another, I guess, I don't know if it would be a puzzle piece, but another interesting factor because it just, I was like, is this a comedy now? Like, did we switch from the erotic thriller to now the comedy?
Sure.
Like, what is this? And I found like, I don't know.
I'm trying to think of some of because yeah, Lil Ray is like, it's so funny. He's like, he's like stoned at the barbecue and it starts raining and he's like, am I so stoned that it's raining? Like what? Like that doesn't even make sense. But yeah, I mean, he is like comic relief in so many things now. I guess you could kind of like just add it to like a big overall list of like Lil Ray shows up and he's funny and he's good. But
it's a comedy.
Yeah, it's a comedy now, apparently.
And I think that was, I mean, I'm looking at maybe puzzle pieces differently, but I just was like, this is completely snowballing into something like I don't even know what's happening.
I guess we'll throw Get Out as the piece. How about that?
Okay.
Yeah, Get Out, Lil Ray doing his sidekick funny business.
Yeah, that's a good comparison.
Use that one. That works.
And Knock Knock would be for Anna.
Yeah.
Who would even be Ben Affleck? I don't even know.
What do you get for the Ben Affleck piece? I mean, we got the meme so far, so we got that going. But
yeah, or you imagine if it was like the other King of Boston, which is like Mark Wahlberg.
Mm-hmm.
That actually could have worked.
Do you think so? You think Mark Wahlberg could have been like a better fit for this?
Yeah, because now all I can think of is how exhausted Ben Affleck looked. Who made that decision?
When he first threatens the first lover, like that scene, at that moment I was like, oh wow, okay, I'm gonna like this movie a lot, like straight up like.
Scene.
Yeah, it's really good. Ben Affleck is really good in that scene, and it's funny and it's unexpected. It just goes downhill and goes weird from there, but yeah, he's good though in that, and I think that's just I mean, this is Ben Affleck's movie. You know what? That actually, just talking about that though, I'll bring up my next piece, which is an obvious one. I think this is kind of a reverse Gone Girl situation. So
100%.
That's my next piece, like Gone Girl in reverse, playing with Ben Affleck's like his persona in this kind of a thriller, and it really it almost expects you to know who Ben Affleck is, like to understand the story of the Ben Affleck and to like use that as knowledge for going into this particular story. And Gone Girl is great. I mean, Rosamund Pike is fantastic in it. Ben Affleck's great in it. David Fincher's awesome. This not as successful, but I think that they definitely go hand in hand.
Well, I can't think of another puzzle piece. It's not as flashy, but Sam Levinson was one of the writers.
Sure.
So for those that are familiar with Euphoria, it would make sense that, well, one, there's so much awkward sex.
Sure.
And having Jacob, I can never pronounce these. He was the one that played the piano.
Okay.
His character was Charlie. So he has a huge role on Euphoria. So I thought it was interesting that they brought him over when we're so used to seeing a certain character of his to see I mean, not as intense as that one, but as the one in Euphoria. But I thought it was interesting that Sam Levinson brought him into the fold as one of Anna's suitors.
Yeah. and / piano teacher that she
/ piano
gives
He saved
$3,000 for.
dollars. Was it for a piano? Did we ever find out?
We never found out. No.
Okay, because I was like, I watched it twice and I still don't know what it was for.
Cutting room floor, including why the dog was in the car during that ride in the end, where Ben Affleck finally kills the guy. Why was the dog in the car?
I hope oh my God, I really hope there's like a director's cut.
I would
that's
watch
like
it.
3 hours long.
Oh yeah, at least at the very least 3 hours. There's so much more to get into, more snails, more all of that. I'll just throw in there. It wasn't on my puzzle pieces list, but as long as you're bringing up Sam Levinson and Euphoria, might as well combine Malcolm and Marie with that as well. As long as we get a couple fighting who hate each other's guts,
Yeah, they really hated each other. Like I was concerned. I'm like, how did these? Okay.
There's very much reason for concern.
Yeah.
I will go for my next piece, and I'm going to combine two movies that maybe are not influences, but to me are the perfect triple feature with this movie.
Oh boy.
Okay, first one, a recent favorite of mine for batshit crazy, so bad it's good movies is 2019 Serenity from Stephen Knight. It's so ridiculous.
Oh my God, I love that movie so much.
It's insane.
So bad.
It's completely insane. I had so much fun with that movie. It's the same kind of bad that this movie was, and I love it so much. I recommend it all the time, even though it's not good. But Matthew McConaughey, Anne Hathaway, directed by Stephen Knight. Huge, ridiculous twist. This one doesn't really have the twist, but it has certainly the mysterious setup, though.
It doesn't have the twist, but it keeps you on your edge because you're waiting for something.
You're waiting for the twist that never happens. Is Ben Affleck the killer? Yes, Ben Affleck is the killer, 100%. But that's okay. The third part of this this little marathon would be Joe Wright's The Woman in the Window from last year, which not as good. I would never rewatch The Woman in the Window, but this movie, Deep Water, though, it made me think maybe I'm being a little too hard on The Woman in the Window, and maybe Joe Wright was also just making a stupid movie that I could laugh at, and I was just watching it like it was supposed to be good, and I missed out on the fun, I don't know if you feel that way.
I mean, I've watched so many of those types of movies, and I've read so many of those types of books that they all blend into one.
Right.
That one was, man, that was a really weird one, though. Like, everything was off. Like, Amy Adams' performance was off.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just never felt... It was like we were all on one wavelength, and that one was like going off to sea, and we were like, "Come back!"
Yeah. Did you watch that parody series, the women?
Yes.
There was no difference between that movie and the series, and that's a parody. So there's
and maybe that's why I like this movie. Like I put that in quotations because it's so ridiculous. I think Gone Girl really started that trend. And I did I wrote to a friend of mine while watching Deep Water. I said, "Is this Gone Girl again? Like, are we literally watching Gone Girl?"
Mm-hmm.
So I think, since then we've had a slew of these movies and combined those with the Fatal Attraction movies. You're just getting these ridiculous mashups.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then just not adding context to anything. I think the only other movie I can think of that's like that I watched recently was this awful movie called Horizon Line.
I haven't seen that.
Oh my God. Oh my God. It's awful. But I would watch it again stoned because it's just, let's see. It stars Allison Williams from the series Girls.
Yeah, okay.
Keith David is in it.
Okay.
And it's a couple flying on a small plane to attend a tropical island wedding, must fight for their lives after their pilot suffers a heart attack. And it's up there as one of the wildest. I would literally do Serenity, Horizon Line, Deep Water.
This sounds like that
and
Drift
Knock Knock.
with what's her name? Shailene Woodley, right? It sounds like that
Oh,
movie.
I didn't see that one.
I never saw it either, but I heard that the ending is absolutely batshit. So I maybe we're just living in an era of just ridiculous, so bad it's good thrillers, like mystery thrillers.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I mean, not to go off like a tangent, but I also just watched this movie called The Reckon with Alicia Silverstone
Oh yeah, they have
and
the
a
shark
shark.
one.
That might be one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
I love that we're on the wreck one right now. Like, how do we get there?
I don't know. Sorry.
No, that's okay. That works.
You could throw Ben Affleck in there and we'd be fine.
That should have been called Deep Water, and this should have been called the Requin. I don't know what a Requin is, though.
I don't either.
No, and you saw the movie, and you don't know what it is.
I don't even think they ever like Deep Water. I don't think they ever actually tell us what it is. Now I have to look.
Wow, what is a Requin? Would that be a Wordle word? Is that 5 letters?
It's just showing me the movie.
Yeah,
like,
wow.
I want the definition.
That's some good SEO.
All right, here we go. I guess there's sharks. It's a shark.
So the movie is basically The Shark.
Any shark of the family. Okay, well, I don't know what that big word is, but yeah,
it's a kind of shark.
It's essentially like any type of shark you see. Why didn't they just call it The Shark?
I know.
Which, just for listeners, if you watch that movie, it's 90 minutes and no talk of a shark. There's no talk of a shark until 50 minutes into the movie.
That's
or
amazing.
the Requin.
That's amazing. I don't know.
I think like movies like Deep Water and these other ones, it's like, I think the reason we're seeing so many of them is because of the pandemic and studios just being like, well, shit.
Yeah.
Let them all loose.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll let them all loose, but also what could we film in like 1 or 2 locations and keep things as simple as possible. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I got a couple more pieces. I'll go with Phantom Thread, Paul Thomas Anderson's movie.
I have not seen that.
Okay. Well, that a much better version of a unhealthy adult relationship. I won't get into spoilers or anything like that, but since you haven't seen it, but a worthwhile movie that I think is a also worthwhile comparison here to the kind of relationship that Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas have. There's mushrooms instead of snails, so you know. I won't go
I'm never gonna get over those snails. Like,
what about Finn Wittrock just being like, "Hey, let's eat your snails"? Like, what?
I will tell you this: I was really excited. I love him. I thought, that season of American Horror Story Freak Show, he was incredible.
Oh yeah.
So I love seeing him in just random shit. But I was like on the edge. I was like, "Is this it? Is this where it's gonna happen? Whatever I'm waiting for is he gonna like fuck things up with these snails?" And then nothing happened.
Nothing. Nope. Nothing.
Why did we even spend 5 minutes talking about how poisonous they are if you don't feed them? To do absolutely nothing. And then she's like, it's the most important thing in his life, and we're just never gonna talk about it.
It's so insane. So
how did they even
insane.
get like an obsession with it? And if she, the author has an obsession, then why didn't she bring it? It's, oh my God.
God. Speaking of the author, you said that you've read some of like these books, like you read Woman in the Window and some things. Are there any books that you think are like similar in this that maybe don't have movie adaptations that you could see are probably going to be the next one on this list that we're talking about?
Well, I kind of stopped reading those books because they were becoming all the same.
Yeah.
But I did. Yeah, there was one that I don't believe has a movie. I bet you anything now they do, though. Riley Sager, and he's written like Home Before Dark, Lock Every Door, Survive the Night. And they're the one that I read, Home After Dark, it's a woman character, and I would kind of put it in those thriller aspect, not erotic thriller, but thriller-esque. You're trying to figure out, uncover kind of like what these other books are doing as the same. Yeah. I think that would maybe be the closest thing. But yeah, I mean, they're churning out books like that all the time.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, I just figured that would be possibly another good piece to include.
Yeah, I mean, he has a book that's called The House Across the Lake.
There's always houses.
Like, there's always houses. They're always across the lake.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. I'll just throw in here. I mean, of course, we could talk any Adrian Lyne movie at length. I mean, Unfaithful would probably be the closest.
Now I want to go revisit that.
I know, right? Like that seems like the one to go to. I mean, like we said earlier, they all are probably fairly silly, like viewed through the lens of now of 2022. But I mean, I don't know. That seems like one worth going back to, and it certainly would seem like the closest in terms of the themes that Deepwater at least is supposed to be getting into.
I still don't even know what the themes are.
That's
so
true.
Does he want, like, that's the other thing. I'm like, you're saying you're okay with this, with her doing this, but clearly you're not, because you're murdering the men.
But they're into that. It seems like that maybe is the spark that keeps them together in some way, which
would love to know.
It's kind of titillating, I guess.
Sure.
I guess. I don't know.
But like I don't know, because it's never explained. They never talk about this being any type of kink, nothing.
Right.
It's like we as viewers were just dropped into a situation.
Yeah.
With no knowledge of anything.
Yeah.
And never given knowledge of anything.
Yeah. No, it's true. I think for a quick second we should talk about Tracy Letts. Just because, I mean, if anything else, there's one scene where he's like, "This is it. This is the book." When he finds out, and then of course the goddamn fucking autocorrect, which is maybe going to be the line of the year when the end of the year comes up. But I mean, maybe Tracy Letts is okay. It's established that he's not a very good writer. He's a screenwriter and he's got some screenplays, and he talks about how, I think they're pretty fresh and interesting.
He's a white older man.
Yeah, and he doesn't have
nothing new.
He has nothing interesting to say. So this is something I literally just thought of right now. Is this movie one of his very uninteresting stories?
I hope so. It would make total sense. Like,
did I just crack the code?
I hope so. I should actually look for like interviews and stuff, because like I tried. I was like, "Is there a junket?" And they're like, "No, unfortunate," or whatever. And I was like, I
think I
just wanted answers.
I think I just figured it out. Yeah, he says that his stories are about himself, and geez, I think he. Oh my God, we did it! I think we did it, Shannon.
We uncracked the code of this crazy.
We pieced it together, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
This is the weirdest episode. I gotta tell you.
Everyone just has to talk it out.
Oh my God! You know what? I don't think we need to get into any other puzzle pieces. I mean, I would say, earlier you were kind of connecting a piece per character. I would maybe say SpongeBob for the snail. So let's go off on that one.
I've literally been thinking about it like all day. I was like, what can I compare, like watching something to it? Like, and there's nothing. I can't.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, think of anything where just a random, even that show, Brand New Cherry Flavor, like they had vomiting cats, but it like you just accepted it because it went with like the vibe and the tone, and eventually you found out. Other than that,
like what is happening? Yeah. What is the theme? You're absolutely right. Yeah, it's hard to say, and I think part of the problem is this very specific genre of like the sexy thriller. It's what it is. Like there's not much else to be explored in here. It's just people have sex, people die, there's a mystery, the end. Like, and that makes it really hard to really make connections other than other movies within the genre.
I'm going to be like crass, but like that scene where he like eats her ass, I was like, what in the fuck is happening right now? I actually had to rewind it to make sure that I was watching what I was watching. and that literally there was nothing attractive about the two of them doing that whatsoever. It was incredible.
You gotta wonder, did Adrian Lyne not make a movie for 20 years? And he's like, you know what? I'm coming back so I can film Ben Affleck eating Anna de Armas' ass. Like, what? That's the goal.
Oh my
here.
God, it lacked passion. It was just so bad. I was
fucking bizarre.
Oh my God.
Man.
But people love the movie. Apparently, a lot of people enjoyed it and thought it was a great thriller. And
we are kind of lacking in adult movies lately. Everything's superhero movies and everything is all that stuff. So I guess there's room for it. It's just not that good, unfortunately. It's the only problem. So I don't know. Did you have any other thoughts we didn't get to when we were getting through all of our puzzle pieces here?
No, I'm sorry, I'm the worst puzzle person.
No, you crushed it. Trust me.
No, I think we hit the nail on the head with a lot of those.
I think so too. I mean, I had other things that I was thinking of, but obviously The Room, that comes up whenever you're doing a movie that's so bad that you're just having so much fun. You know what? I'm going to throw one last thing in. Did you see The Voyeurs last year?
No, it's on my list.
Okay.
Is it so bad it's good? Or
it kind of is. I enjoyed it. I'm not going to say that it does the sexy thriller right, because it is ridiculous and it kind of goes off the rails in the final act. But I'd say it's better than this, though. It's the best sexy thriller I've seen in a while. Let's put it that way.
I could believe it. Sydney Sweeney she goes all the way.
Yeah. She does. Sydney Sweeney. Let's see some more movies with her. She's good.
Yeah.
This is such a weird episode. Shannon, is there another movie you watched recently you'd like to recommend to our listeners?
Oh man. Well, I know you just did the episode for X. Obviously, huge fan of that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't often get to watch movies multiple times. Deepwater was one of those. X was another one, both for very different reasons.
Sure.
And I just saw Everything Everywhere All the Time, which I would be shocked if that didn't make it into my top 5.
Oh, I can't wait.
Year. Yeah.
I'm so excited to see it. I am
that
looking forward to it.
That was a journey.
Oh, I'm sure. Swiss Army Man was my favorite movie of 2016. So
I have not seen that,
really?
Which is wild because I love Paul Dano and I love Daniel Radcliffe, and I don't know why I haven't watched it.
Please tell me how you like it when you finally get around to it, because it is so good. But awesome. Awesome. I'm looking forward to that. But Shannon, awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. Why don't you tell people where they can find you and everything you're up to?
You can find me on Twitter at Shannon_McGrew. Yes. And on Instagram at Horror Design Chick. And you can find my site, Nightmarish Conjurings, at Nightmarish Conjurings on Facebook and Instagram. And on Twitter, it is NIGHTMAR and the number 1 SH. I made that so complicated. I'm sorry.
It's a good plug.
It's been a long day.
Yeah. Well, Shannon, thank you so much for doing the show.
Thank
you. We will hopefully get you back again sometime. This was great.
Yes, anytime.
Hey there, classmates. Tune in to Middle Class Film Class every Monday and Wednesday for weekly movie news, streaming picks, and one deep dive review.
The Batman trailer. There was a teaser, there was a trailer 1, trailer 2, final trailer. I don't know if it's the same one. How many trailers do we need exactly?
Leave an email or a voicemail to join in the discussion.
Bullshit artist!
Yeah, buddy.
All right.
Awesome.
You're going full Danzig.
Right, I am. My trans
You have no power over me.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed that conversation about Deepwater. Thanks to Shannon for joining me on that one. And, if you just listen to that conversation and you like what we do here on the show and you like the whole puzzle pieces thing, consider subscribing. You can subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you really like the show, you can rate and review us, and we would really appreciate if you do that. So yeah, do that. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods. We've been in the top 10 on Good Pods a bunch of times lately, and that's pretty awesome when that happens. So thank you for being out there and listening and rating and reviewing and sharing and commenting and liking and all the things you do. You can also join our Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces, where we continue the conversation about all the movies we talk about here on the show. Get in touch on Twitter at PiecingPod, also on Instagram, although I don't post on there as much as I should. And don't forget about that Produced by David Rosen Patreon. So let's close this out with a piece of music like I always do. And you know what? This track, it's not on any of my albums, but I think one of the music libraries that sometimes gets my music placed on TV and stuff like that actually released it as a single at one point. Or it was either a single or it was like a compilation of sexy music. And so I thought it would be a good one to play on this. It's a track called Moonlight that I made a long, long time ago. This is like well over 10 years ago. But it's out there doing its job, getting used in various things and getting played by people that I have no idea who they are. But hey, as long as people are listening, that's cool with me. So yeah, I thought this would be a good one to close us out here on a sexy thriller episode. Again, it's called Moonlight. You might be able to find it online somewhere, but if not, I got plenty of other music out there, so check me out. David Rosen on Spotify and Bandcamp and iTunes and all those places. We'll be back with more Piecing It Together real soon.
An All Points West production, produced by David Rosen in Las Vegas.